And the pledge of allegiance to the moment of silence for our troops.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, just a review of our procedures. When we have a new application for a variance, we will listen to the request from the applicant or question the applicant at that point. After the board and applicant have presented all the information that they think is appropriate, we then open the floor to people in the meeting room attending. Also, those at home. Questions are directed to the board and not to the applicant. Each person must limit their comments. And in this particular meeting, we've heard things before, and we don't want to repeats on those. When the applicant and board are comfortable, all necessary information has been presented. The public hearing will be closed and carried over to the next meeting if further information is needed. The zoning board has 62 days to consider and vote on the application after the hearing is closed. Okay, and also people who are online, remain muted. If you have, there's a time at which we ask for comments, and you can let Mike know on the Zoom. Okay, the first one on the agenda is Anthony Venezia, the Fruits Mink, 4790 County Road 16. This is for a variance from lot 3 relief from town code of a lot 2.5 times deeper than it is wide. This was discussed at length last time, and the hearing was closed at that time. So no further more information can be submitted to the board at this time. Since our meeting, the planning board met and had that on their agenda. Apparently the applicant was not able to attend that meeting. So the planning board has requested that we make no decision on this tonight as far as approval or disapproval. So I'm sorry that some of you came out for what may not happen. But we will not be making a decision on this tonight at the request of the planning board. They're going to go over it further with the applicant, and then come back to us again to make a final decision if needed. And again, just to reiterate, this whole process is for the zoning variance only, has nothing to do with what the applicant might do or not do with the property. That's all up to the planning board. But I'm sorry that people come out tonight to hear that, but we will not be making a decision on this tonight at the request of the planning board.
So is that a vote, or how do we address it?
Well, the hearing's closed. We have 62 days, so
Oh,
we've
that's
got
right.
another.
I forgot about that, it's closed.
I would suggest that those who are interested, make sure they go to the planning board meeting. When would that be?
They do have a meeting next week,
Okay.
but it's probably, it's pretty full. I don't think the planning board chairperson would want us to add this to that, so if you can continue it, then they would still be able to potentially have it on their September.
Yes.
month.
How many days does it give us? And where there's still.
That would be before our September meeting. We'll have to
It
make a
would be
decision
before your
if they still need it that
Because
day.
they've got 2 meetings a month, so it could potentially go on the first meeting of September, which is what I would probably suggest to them.
I guess would you please let them know that we really have to do that in order for us to meet our obligation to make a decision in 62 days?
Yeah, and we can communicate with the applicant to make sure they know, that it's important that they show up to that meeting. The agenda is set with the chair's discretion, but in the passes.
Okay, and so the individuals who are here, you know, interested in this, they should be able to find out what the planning board decides at the meeting beginning of
Planning
September.
board, after that meeting, would be able to provide some sort of memo or.
Like feedback or comments or.
Yeah, they'll provide a
Basically.
report to the recommendation to this board. You know, they did hear your comments at the planning board heard your comments and has all the written comments, including the petition, counted the signatures this morning, by the way, it's almost over 40 signatures that are on that. They have seen all of the written submissions. You are welcome to submit further written submissions, or, you know, these are thoughtful board members that certainly they've reviewed each and every single letter and taken into consideration. That's not to say you can't submit more, but
The public hearing for them is not
Yeah.
closed. You know.
No, it's one night, good for.
it will pretty much be my estimate of the date, that I would think it would be September 10th.
Planning board,
Planning board.
will not be on the planning board for next week.
No, I mean, I wouldn't even recommend it. They have a
Well,
really full agenda, but they will.
Yeah. Can you be there September 10th at the planning board? Yes. Okay.
I was not informed of a previous planning board
Understood.
request.
They weren't mad, they just they're not comfortable making a recommendation until this vote. So we're able to engage. So my tentative September. Subject to the planning board. chair.
Should he reach out to them or, I mean,
No,
the applicant?
Sarah will deal with that.
Yeah, okay.
That's- So that the people who are here know.
Right, well, and the
September.
applicant is himself too. So.
And then because of it being posted 62 days, when we have our next meeting, depending on what they're asking us to do when it comes back, we will make a decision one way or the other on the variance request.
And what date is that? What date is your September meeting?
Third Thursday, or third Tuesday, excuse me.
September 17th, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, September.
September.
You're welcome to stay.
Probably take on that too, though.
Thank you all.
Coming.
Appreciate your time.
The next
Okay, one up.
I got your email.
Yeah,
Next one, the applicant Jim Mocha, this is 32311
Thank you.
State Route 332. Construction of a 28,000 square foot parking lot in form-based code zoning district. Applicant is required to obtain an area variance for parking area that's located between a building facade and a primary street. Landscaping less than 10% of the parking lot. Parking lot width exceeding 30% of the property width. Parking lot massing and orientation. Parking lot space specifications. Internal pedestrian routes. Well, is there someone here? Okay.
Closed the hearing.
I think so too, yeah.
I think you closed it in anticipation of me preparing findings of that.
and he was gonna meet with the board regarding the form-based code and then Dave was, or you did.
I went to the
We
ordinance
not
committee.
do it so that they can address some of the issues. We have.
It's fine.
Take a look at them.
What?
The minutes.
Yeah, because I mean, we're just kind of like wondering where our And that was good, Ian. I was gonna respond then.
I think it was this one.
Everybody else.
I don't, I just gave him the
Just want to
proposal
check,
that
because
Bert
my
gave us. so-
recollection, we left it open. To accept, more, some things
Did we
we
leave it
talked
open?
about. I don't know, it's those
I-
minutes.
I don't know. I can't remember now.
Went on and on and on.
What do you got, like?
They,
decision tree just says continued.
It's continued.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay.
So we didn't
Yeah,
close
so
it?
we did not
Okay.
close it. And if you'd like to make any, after some of the things we mentioned, if you have any changes to your application that might be helpful, we certainly would want to hear about those.
Yeah, I think really the only update since the last meeting, obviously we talked about the variances, it's applying a site plan. To hopefully eliminate one of them because of landscaping, which we discussed, at the meeting last time was. Also got brought up at the conservation board, some spaces could be removed to get in that 10%. So we supplied an updated plan with some of those spaces removed. Obviously, it looks pretty similar to the last plan. Mainly in the top right corner,
Okay,
bottom.
this just came in today, so none of us have seen
Yeah.
it.
It's, but no real drastic differences other than removing, there's 4 spaces in the top right corner, bottom left, and then bottom right.
Okay.
Just to create some more of that green space to get within that 10%.
So you're no longer looking for the variance for the
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah, at that last meeting, I had committed that we would remove the,
Right.
and however many spaces it was gonna be, Joshua calculated it, like, oh, before.
You know what the percent is now?
It's pretty much right at the 10%.
That's like
Little bit
9.
over, yeah.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it's close, but it's over that threshold. But the other 5 are you still pursuing
Okay.
for this application.
Okay.
I was looking at it today, that blacktop pad, does that get removed?
We can, that's an existing piece that's been there. I think there was an old house or something,
Uh-huh.
so we can certainly remove that.
It doesn't
Just grass it
make a
over.
difference in terms of, whatever. Any thoughts on the environmental conservation board's questions about infiltration areas and things?
For in the kind of the bottom right corner of the parcel,
Okay.
So as far as I guess the drainage goes, the patterns are still following existing, flowing to the south. We got a depressed area with an inlet that's gonna collect that rainwater and then eventually go to the existing storm system on the property, so essentially following existing drainage patterns. But with that depression, you kind of pull up if there is an influx of rain and runoff, so.
So the rest of the variances would be needed as requested.
Yes. For all the ones you listed, other than the landscaping.
Anything else you would like to add?
Just that we, appreciate your consideration on this, I know it's. In keeping with what we've been doing there and what that area has, I know it goes in the face a little bit of the new code, but this is, the way we operate, so it is most efficient for us, so anything, your consideration is appreciated.
I guess since we met the ordinance committee, Dave presented our concerns about the how the code fits in over there, or how to fit into the code, I guess, and the ordinance committee would be working on that. The town board, which would have to make some decision.
So it's kind of in
Nothing's
limbo.
changed.
Yeah. All right.
Does anyone have anything from home? Bob?
No,
No. Okay.
No,
the new me is an alternate, so I don't think I get to comment.
No, you're not an alternate yet.
buddy.
No. That has to be approved by the town board. Hasn't been done yet, so Jason is still the alternate. Bob?
So you're
Well,
not
my
for the
board at
fast
home
food
approved it.
thing.
No, you're still a regular member. Anyone else? Okay, anyone else on the board have any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
You're comfortable with what you presented, we can close the public hearing?
Yes.
We have 62 days and we have to make a decision.
Yeah,
Hopefully
I-
we'll make it tonight.
I was pretty certain that happened last time, but that's.
Well, it's a little, the minutes reflect that the hearing was, the chairman closed the hearing and then it was continued to get more information and think about the parking
Right.
spaces and address the ordinance committee. So the board, the hearing was just reopened and now closed.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have to vote to reopen
Kelly made a motion to reopen the public hearing.
it? All in favor? Everybody,
Sure.
all right, opposed, anybody?
Oh, we can
Bob?
close it. I can
Alright.
close it.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you again. very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry about the confusion.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is a request for, extending a variance which we approved
Yeah.
last year. This is, Deborah Podgers, 3673 Middle Cheshire Road. Variance extension request. Original variance was granted on 6/20/23 and expired a year from them. They're requesting that it be renewed. Is the applicant here?
I'm not Debbie, that's my wife.
You're the spokesperson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like to say it feels like yesterday that I stood up here and it's been over a year and I apologize for that. We would like to request an extension. 23 and 24 has been a very busy year for us and some unexpected things happened with us as far as my wife had a couple surgeries and then we had a child get married, our youngest, and so a lot of things happened. And we were starting to get the paperwork out for this and she said, guess what, it expired, and I said, oh boy. So standing in front of you folks today, just to hope that you would consider extending us and we hope to possibly the end of this year, which is only a couple months away, or the first part of next year to pull a permit and actually begin construction. So I appreciate your time for hearing me and hope that you would consider it.
Board members have any questions?
there's no changes,
Bob, you're
everything's
okay?
all the same.
All the same, yes.
You have no further,
No, sir.
information to give, then, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
And, we'll make a decision to.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are making no decision on the main property tonight, so. Okay, any discussion on the Lester application?
Did the ordinance committee have anything pertinent as far as input?
Not that I heard.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any great answer on this thing. I think they're gonna look into it. I think
sounds
it's,
like the,
Last
know,
I
it's
asked, I
board
didn't
thing,
see any
right?
minutes, so
what's that?
I'd say I asked. Last week about minutes or when we at that time, I don't know if they are now. Are you aware of any action they may have taken?
I mean, I can't look right now, but I can check and let you know. Tomorrow, the ordinance committee, you know, it sometimes can be kind of slow, and even if they had a decision, it would have to be code updates
Right.
provided with red line changes proposed, and then the ordinance committee would have to agree that that's what they wanted to recommend to the town board, and then town board at that point could set a public hearing for a month later to decide whether or not they want to.
So basically, we just have to make a judgment call, it's like we have to review the information and make. our
Well, you
own
get to do what the zoning board gets to do,
Right.
right, decision on the variance request, but no changes to the actual.
Until further
Have
guidance.
been made. because it's-
Nor will they for 6 to 8 months.
Right.
Minimum, I would say.
So,
And that doesn't mean they didn't consider what you said, it's
Right.
just it takes a while to propose code changes anyway, and it certainly would take a while with form-based code, because I think they would probably prefer to make changes all at once instead of a few here and there, and I think there's possibly other recommendations that will come from form-based code.
Sarah, as town planner, do you have any guidance / advice to the zoning board about what will effectively be zoning by variance in a situation like this?
right,
Obviously, and Sarah made a good point, you do what a zoning board does. You
right,
evaluate your factors and reach a decision.
yeah, however, though, I mean, this is big change there, and I mean, like. We don't wanna create hardships for everybody as well, so.
I agree.
You know, all goes into balancing.
Yeah,
The supervisor was going to have a discussion with West Herd, that's what he told me. But I don't know whether that ever transpired or not.
Or is it okay, Jim?
If I can talk, we actually spoke this morning, we did reach out on this, out of the country invitation. So we played some phone tag with him last week here, spoke this morning, I guess. He was taking his son to school, so we didn't have any detailed discussion. I did let him know that we were to present the plan, reducing the parking spaces. No, we haven't had any substantive discussions.
okay. In that case, when you, Proceed, or-
Yeah, thank you, proceed, you evaluate your factors and.
alright,
Well, the problem is, and that's why I said to the ordinance, I mean, it's pre-existing non-conforming. It's 4 of the 5 issues regarding a variance are thrown right up, I mean, self-creation and substantial. I mean, the only place that near as I could tell that they mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but was the one place that I guess it is rented now, the place that's up by Monroe Muffler. That is the only place that's been built that according to what the code wanted it, but.
The new
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, here's my suggestion. Let's throw up on it. Here's my suggestion. Let's go through our variance sheet.
I guess one question I would have, we normally consider all variances together, but should we take this?
I think that's a very good idea. I think you can do some of the analysis together, and separate it out where need be.
Well, from a legal standpoint, if I mean, right off the bat, character of the neighborhood, it is 100% character of the neighborhood,
That was-
but it's completely out of code.
That was gonna be my suggestion. Let's take a
Right.
look at the neighborhood. Let's define the neighborhood from where to where, and then describe the neighborhood. Because when you're making a decision like this, you need to base it on facts to justify it, and I think I have a sense of where you're what the board is thinking. I think it's justifiable, and if we lay it out, I think we'll all be comfortable with the decision you're about to make.
Okay, well, let's start with the parking lot located between the building facade and primary street. As Dave pointed out, there's only one place in that section, I think. Can we define, I guess, the area of being from North Street up to Emerson Road?
is that
332.
North Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
mine.
basically what we're talking about.
Well, you could even go down further, my God, there's car places.
Well- And I'm not picturing it perfectly, but
A little bit of.
Emerson's right at the top of the.
Yeah.
there.
is the neighborhood Could you just sort of define a big part of the form-based code? Is it the car dealership section,
Yeah,
and does that go all the way down to north?
yeah, pretty much.
there's
Yeah, it does.
Pretty much, yeah.
Jeep is right there, and then they've got another one, a collision place right next to it, and then
Yeah.
they've got,
But
yeah,
even have sales, that's the same
Right.
thing, parking in the front. building in
fire
the back.
department. Yeah, I mean,
And
there's
that
like
whole
commercial
little strip
buildings
mall.
completely,
With the
Right.
pizza place.
multiple strip malls on both sides.
Got it.
Those.
So the character of that neighborhood north to Emerson is strip malls and
Little small
car
businesses.
dealerships
Yeah.
and
With
repair,
parking in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
collision and repair, all with parking
Very commercial,
in the front.
yeah,
Commercial, comma, parking in the front.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, all of it's parking.
Would,
Something would not result in something seriously out of place. Would it be a detriment to nearby? This is where can't take the whole thing. For them.
oh yeah, I think so.
What's
I
that?
think you could do,
Yeah.
for the most part, unless you disagree, I think you can do this analysis considering all four together.
I think,
Detriment to nearby properties.
no,
Half of it's is gonna be left alone.
right,
I don't know the parcel that we're looking at,
Right.
it's,
there's no change in detriment, you know, I mean, it is what it is now.
Impact on the immediately adjacent properties.
No,
Not. Immediately adjacent properties are. Across the street.
no,
Well, there's Emerson Road is adjacent, there's the. to the
so Thomas Road is
north-
there,
Northwest, I guess you'd say,
yeah,
is what, I don't know what that. parcel is.
Thomas there, that, you talking about across from Emerson, or,
No, literally to the right of this parcel,
oh,
Oh.
oh,
is that just farmland or?
yeah,
from
it's like
vacant?
fields and, yeah,
Taken, yeah, it's not finally expired.
Immediately across
there's
the
a
street,
park back there, so,
it's a car dealership, and immediately next door is a car dealership, same owner.
a muffler shop right there, yeah, I mean, they're all kind of the same.
Substantiality. I mean, it's substantial compared to what the code is.
Yes,
Is it substantial to what it is now?
I didn't hear your question.
I just said, is it substantial to what it is now?
It's substantial to the code.
Well,
That's
I
a
realize that.
substantial, this is a
I-
substantial variance. Which is.
Adverse impact on the environment. You've got a wetlands, that's not gonna be disrupted.
Drainage and stormwater will be dealt with in the planning board. Traffic. This is the same that's. That's the pre-existing in the neighborhood are these.
It's a steep.
Lot.
There's no,
Sorry.
and there's no new driveway proposed.
No,
Correct. Dust, noise, light, odor. Not expected to. Views and aesthetic resources.
No, it's not.
This won't result in any change to the view
Right,
from what's existing.
no problem with emergency services access. Natural features. Wetland thing. Left where. Historic or archaeological features,
actually, there's almost a benefit to if they remove that pad, right, for us wetlands, it's technically a bit of a benefit. Environmentally anyway.
Self-created hardship.
No,
Self-created.
no,
don't think
it was
so.
I
pre-existing.
mean, they're.
Well, when did you acquire this parcel?
Recently,
It was at the same time we bought the dealership.
Oh,
yeah,
Do you know
probably,
the year?
it's been a couple of years now.
Would have been 2 years ago.
Easily.
So you purchased it after the form-based code was adopted.
Maybe it is, well, whenever we did, it. So what is?
We don't know.
This is 24, so 20 was either
21, 22.
late 23, or sorry, late 22.
Form-based code was adopted in August of 2021.
Okay.
Oh,
Minimum variance necessary. We've given us information on the number of parking places that are necessary for an operation their size. I think you said they would increase their sales by 50% over when they bought it. So probably necessary.
They also eliminated
they eliminated the
4
variance.
spaces, wasn't it? Yeah. Oops.
Benefit outweighs the detriment.
I would say,
It does.
yeah,
is there, well, define the benefit and define the detriment.
well, are we referring to adhering to code, or are we referring, you know, what I mean? Like,
We have to, that has to be what the basis of our decision is.
well, I realize it, but what I'm saying is, when we're saying, is it a, what'd you say, a detriment or a benefit? The benefit to the applicant, if they were to adhere to code, is that a benefit to them? I don't think so.
It's the benefit to the community. you're
It's
saying?
the benefit of the variance
No.
to the applicant versus the detriment to the community by granting the variance, so.
Right.
My feeling would be that the benefit is outweighs the detriment because of the way, the reasons we talked about the neighborhood already.
Okay.
And the only thing really there is a substantiality.
Can you go back up, just cover alternatives? I know the applicant discussed those and why there aren't.
Right.
But at the last public hearing, or the last meeting, alternatives were discussed extensively.
I almost feel like it's the nature of the business in itself that actually affects this application more so than a typical business
I think the
with
ECB
parking, so.
question about whether they could have off-site parking for those cars, but I think the applicant indicated that increases the amount of traffic in and out. So it makes it a lot less efficient. It makes it more of a problem for the consumer.
And if I have to pull in somebody's drive, parking lot out back, I'm not gonna go in there, so personally, it's.
I did.
Is everyone comfortable with the discussion and that those would be the reasons justifying any decision?
I'm
Comfortable.
Go ahead, Judy. No, I think do them separate.
Okay, so, yeah.
Go separate.
Really?
Did you want me to call the question?
Call, yeah.
Okay, we just have one question before I do. So is the 10% with the landscaping, is that still part of what you're gonna be voting on? Or are we
I
gonna
think
go
you're
with that?
within, yeah.
Okay, so we are.
They
gonna-
got-
First one, shall the variance for the parking area located between a building facade and primary street be granted?
Why are we calling them separately?
You don't have to, let's just. Look at it.
Okay,
Are you making a motion to call them together?
yes,
Second to that motion.
Can I second?
I would say, can I second?
Yeah, you can.
Second.
Yeah, you can second.
All in favor of taking them all together?
nine,
That's fine.
Bob?
I have no issue
So
with
the question, the remaining requested variances be granted.
Okay, you want me to read each one? Just.
I don't think you need.
Okay, shall the variances requested be granted? Shannon Chevy,
no,
Bob Hilliard,
No.
David Emery,
Yes.
Kelly LaVoy,
yes.
Chip Saylor.
Yes. We need a,
Do we need a super majority?
I don't think,
We're gonna check to make sure to see if what county planning. Had any commentary.
I mean, like.
I don't remember seeing it.
I didn't indicate in my notes.
Steps on.
Last thing on the. Page 9 and 11. Comments. That's right here, the last line of the unboard. Do you have questions? And the board motion was to retain referral as class ones and return them to the local board with comments. Reviewing the comments. It does not appear that any are to reject. What is this? They're just questions.
I think we questioned.
There is no recommendation of denial from the Ontario County Planning Board.
Okay, so simple majority carries the day.
All right,
The last.
on to the next one.
We gotta do this, don't we? Gotta. That's service.
So there'll be, the statement of facts will be, as we talked about in the discussion, as presented on the diagram tonight, this board, and then we have a year to go ahead with the project.
As presented tonight with the modification in the,
Modification of the lot.
yeah.
And just to be clear, it's 3 variance requests that were granted.
Four,
Five.
four or five.
Oh, it's 4 of them, sorry.
That was 5 out of 6.
Well, it was 5, it's 4 out of 4.
Well, wait, let's
No,
just
no,
be
no,
sure.
no, no. It's 5 out of, because it was 6.
Can't trust you. It's 7, it's 7.
They're the ones being right. Location, width exceeding, massing and orientation, parking space, and pedestrian routes. That's 5
That's
that are
5.
granted.
So 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
And the 6 was dropped.
6 would drop.
Okay.
Yes, the applicant moved in the direction of the new code.
I guess we could put that comment.
Yeah, it's just, that's a really good point.
Yeah, we do want to very much clearly say in this case, the applicant made concessions towards the new code, which we think is important.
Right.
Thank you.
Anything else anybody want on the reasons? Okay, I'll set them.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Can I, so let me just modify Shannon's statement, made extensive efforts
Yes,
to comply with the code and, made revisions based on feedback.
oh, do we want
So that when the next applicant comes in, you guys say, okay, but
We didn't vote on that.
granted, but
Extension.
this is what.
Is that what you said?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
should we? Should we ask them to remove the pad?
We did sort of,
Planning board,
All right,
if they.
said he, yeah, he was willing to
probably
do
old enough that probably isn't that. It's probably very permeable.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
it.
Okay, on the 3673 Middle Chester Road, any questions or?
I don't have an issue with it. Yeah, life happens, right? That's about it.
Ready to call the question?
Sure. Shall the extension request of the previously granted variance be extended for 1 year? Shannon Chevier,
Yes,
Bob Hilliard,
Yes.
David Emery,
Yes,
Kelly LaVoy,
Yes,
Chip Saylor.
Yes. It's as presented by the applicant. The same variances which were granted would be still applicable.
And subject to another 1 year,
Great.
is my recommendation.
The years from the date of expiration, we.
So no.
June.
Let's do it on the 9th.
From this date of this meeting, right? Isn't that?
More than years.
Yeah, it is actually.
It's essentially,
It's not.
we needs to start doing it that way, but having said that over and over.
Yeah, technically, that was
Should we
good.
extend it for 14 months?
You can extend it for however long you want. If you're going to grant an extension of less than a year from today, you have to specify that it's 10 months or
Right.
however many.
I just wanted to know, so.
Yeah, no, you gotta mark it down. It would be however long of a time period from today.
Right.
I'm good with a year from today.
I do it 1 year for.
Yeah.
I'm good with this.
Okay. Who's about it? All right with that, Bob, 1 year from today?
I think
Probably.
Bob says it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any requests for rehearings? Referrals from town board, referrals from town manager.
Thanks.
Well, have you guys met your new town manager, John Belleville?
I don't.
He's sitting right over there.
Yeah, we pointed and said that's the new guy.
Thought you were gonna be another neighbor.
he wasn't carrying it.
She submitted 15 emails.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
John's been doing a good job so far.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
The minutes of the last meeting,
I reviewed them, I wrote through.
second.
That's okay.
And Chip, I just got a change, was brought to my attention tonight. I had one of the neighbors on the NAPE application. She said I had a name, I guess, wrong, so it's gonna correct that.
Oh, there you go.
Okay?
With corrections.
As corrected.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All-
submitted with corrections.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see. How's the look for next month?
Obviously, Mr. Reed's coming back.
Oh, that'd be,
Yeah, you'll have me. We know what this.
I am exhausted. I need a nap.
Pardon?
I mean, nothing on it yet, we just had ERC yesterday. Okay, at least two. Yeah, we just had PRC yesterday, and we haven't done referrals yet, so I'm not waiting.
Any other business?
No, they're having a separate
No.
side discussion down there. Dave.
Emotion we could adjourn.
I was just stating, and
I'm just kidding.
once again, Mr. Controversial, I would just love to know what the evolution of the form-based code was with MRB. All of a sudden it just happened. We were never, none of us were ever involved in any part of it that I know of, other than Kelly, you were on that.
Initially, yeah. And the
That's
sort of like
MRB did
building of
anything
it.
about. I don't think they had anything.
No, they didn't. It was more,
Bergman.
well, actually, they did. They commented on stuff, didn't they? MRB, or was it? Oh,
What do you mean, like how it came about?
Yeah, I'm
Took
just
a long
saying,
time.
was it, you know, a multi-year process?
2015,
yeah. It was a long
with students from Hobart and William Smith Finger Lakes Institute. They did a placemaking study for the Uptown region of Canandaigua.
Well, what was the catalyst for making it happen? Cause it
That
really,
was the beginning, and then the town applied for a grant for a transportation corridor feasibility study for Route 332 in 2017. We received it. We sent out an RFP and hired Bergman Associates to do that study. Their study was adopted in 2019, the Uptown feasibility study. In their study of how to improve the corridor, focusing on traffic, pedestrian access, land use, and all kinds of stuff. One of the recommendations that came out of that was consider a form-based code. town board said.
And there, they were looking at other towns with some similar populations
Yeah.
and whatnot to kind of.
And then,
this
so
feasibility.
that was 2019 when that was adopted. I can't remember if it was later that year, I think it was later that same year, the town board released an RFP to consult or to hire a consultant to develop a form-based code for Uptown. Bergman Associates was one of the people who supplied a proposal, and they hired them, and then went through the process during 2020 and 2021. Had all the public meetings, they had a committee that was gathered to kind of walk through the process with Bergman, and then in August of 2021 it was adopted. So it wasn't overnight, there was a
Okay,
long.
no, I'm just,
The exact opposite of overnight, and public input was sought as much as it could have been, and from what I've heard, I think there was some public
There was
input.
a lot.
Residents,
Yeah.
or property owners.
Letters were mailed to every single property owner in the proposed form-based code district throughout the process, beginning back in 2019 during the initial corridor study. Trying to get input and ideas, and again during the form-based code study, every single property owner was alerted to the form-based code. And then before the law was changed and before the zoning was actually enacted by the town board, they were sent more hard copy letters letting them know this was coming.
You know, one of the things that I'm curious about, did they have, how similar of a study did they do with that type of industry? You know, like we have predominantly car dealerships in that area, and to make them adhere to the policy is a lot harder, right? I mean, than a typical.
Yeah, that's
you
why
know,
they said,
I think it's
yeah,
kind of a
this was
unique
not
issue.
expected to be an overnight thing.
Yeah.
There was short-term, midterm, and long-term as far as timelines for changes to take effect, and I mean, the longest was 20 years. I think it was 5,
It's
10,
gonna be longer
or maybe it's
than that.
5, 10, 15 years, I don't know, but
Yeah.
not, this is going to happen in this many years, it's just saying, you know, this first phase you could probably see change within 5 years, the next
Right.
phase, you know. With the knowledge that, no, you're not gonna get a complete infill
Adherence.
redevelopment within 5 years. What it does do, I mean, like, sometimes I think about places like Tops, right? Those front lots, they never did anything with it.
Right.
They could subdivide, sell it off and let people build right up front in those spaces that are always empty.
Yeah.
Other landowners in the area have the opportunity to do stuff like that too. Yeah.
They did
Car
try.
dealerships are not probably going to want to. do
Yeah, they
that.
did at one time,
They
right?
tried to put
With the
gas-
gas.
Well, they don't-
station there.
Yeah.
the only reason I mentioned the MRB is that they were saying, and I've also heard Chris say, that I think in a large way, this was, alls I've heard all along here is this is going to be a huge moneymaker for any of those property owners.
There's.
And that's what MRB said.
potential.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen? The
And I don't
evolution.
know what MRB said.
Well, I know what they said. I was at that New York State presentation. I heard him say. it. And I've heard Chris say it, and I'm not denying that that may be, that's a wonderful thing as far as I'm concerned. I hope it works out, but.
So as a person who knows about economic development, not as your town attorney, I'll tell you, in a lot of cases, form-based code is a huge attraction and an amenity and an economic incentive, because you can build 4 times what you could build under traditional Euclidean zone. But you get here, not only can you're required to build right up to the street, and you're required to build vertically. Don't build a 1-story building, please. We want 4 stories or 3 stories. We want that urban commercial area look, just like downtown Canandaigua. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to replicate that downtown Canandaigua look, or that same look in any village, city, town. But you get to build more under form-based code.
It's supposed to be appealing to people when they come in and
Yeah.
everything's right there. and
The
living space.
the issue is when what you want to build isn't mixed use commercial on the first floor and apartments on the second, third, and 4th floors. You want to build more parking for your car dealership. Then it's not as much of an economic attraction.
Right.
But if you want to put stores on the first floor and as many apartments as you can cram on the second, third, and fourth floors, form-based code is a real money maker. That's what I'm at.
And I'm not second guessing that at all, Chris.
No,
I'm
I'm
just
just-
saying,
yeah.
what I'm looking at is, yeah, they changed the codes in the RLD. And, you know, made it very difficult. It made almost all the properties on the east side of the lake non-conforming, pre-existing non-conforming. And this did that as well to all the properties in this area, by and large. But at least in the RLD, there's some flexibility in the zoning board to be able to, you know, to look at these things and not have the whole, you know, maybe all form-based code has to be this strict, I don't know. But it's kind of hard to,
Well, we still have the option to approve the variance.
which we did, yeah.
Again, not as your town attorney, but as a guy who's dealt in this area. Form-based code can be great, I think it needs to be tailored to the areas a little bit more. Off the top of my head, maybe the cardio strips get cut out of it, that's just a thought, it's not a suggestion. But there are properties in this area that can really benefit from form-based code. And it's not an expression of what's there, it's an expression of what we want there. And for a lot longer than the timeline Sarah just gave, the town of Canandaigua has identified this form-based code district as an area where we want to direct development. We'd love for you to build in the town of Canandaigua, and we'd like for you to do it right here. Please don't do it where we have really valuable agricultural lands, steep slopes, view sheds, or lake frontage. Please do it right here. And so this is supposed to be an incentive to generate that development here. Is it perfect? Apparently not. And will it, you know, well, I think the ordinance, maybe I'm assuming will take that up, and so will the town board. Their involvement and John and the supervisor, and they'll figure out hopefully a better way to do it. You know, maybe make some adjustments. I'm not defending it, I'm just, these are my.
It is what it is, I'm not,
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. And, you know, you don't get. Form-based code is a giant swing. You know, it's a really big swing and you don't get big swings right now all the time on the first side. Is it something, is it wrong? No, but can we make some adjustments? Yeah, I think so.
I think it's very tough when you're putting it on 332, which is the main
Yeah.
north-south thoroughfare. I mean, I guess we have bypass that would go from south to north around that area. Probably be a lot easier to do.
Well, as the outlier tonight, I guess I'll finally speak up. I think that's the point. We want to slow down 332. We don't want it to be a bypass.
Yeah, they actually had plans to narrow the street.
Narrow
and
the
stuff,
street,
like,
make
right,
it
that was
one
happening.
lane, put trees up. The whole idea is to get people to slow down, have lots of little shops, have lots of little eateries, have all this other kind of stuff. And make it the destination.
It's tough to do though, if it's the main north-south corridor where everybody.
Well, even Main Street,
Sorry.
even Main Street has two lanes.
Has all ever been to a major city in Europe ever? They're all like this. They're cobblestone streets for crying out loud sake. So I'm not gonna
They
buy.
also have more deaths and accidents too, but.
But yeah, and I, again, I
Roundabouts
wasn't
everywhere.
even here a resident when this was done. So I have zero rights to any opinion as to whether or not this is right or wrong. That's a totally a beer kind of conversation. But it was done. And it is done with the goal to where we're going. And I was no this time, I was no last time we had a form-based code up, and I'll say it's because. Only because we will never get there. We won't even make the 20-year timeline if we don't start. And I'm a little, I would just want to make sure we all know that every time we grant a variance, we're saying, no, not yet, no, not yet. Which is fine if we have actual recommendations for the town board or the ordinance committee, which is why I was willing to go with you to the town board. I don't have specifics, but you know, I think there's room, I agree, there's room for improvement, there's always room for improvement. But we can make these things happen, it can be on 332, it can be the main thoroughfare. And if that's what the town as a whole wanted before I moved here, I'll do my part in getting there.
I think that's very valid, and I think both sides on this are valid.
I was pretty sure I was gonna be a vote.
I got that you were okay with it.
I was totally okay with that.
Who's the renter in the new building? Anybody know?
There's a tenant there?
That's what some I thought.
Somebody said
everybody-
it.
You mean the unfinished one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's at least one. And I thought.
They're gonna
there
need
might
a front door
Be a conversation. Well,
Here you go
or a
again,
front
here you
wall.
go again.
Oh.
All my creations.
But
Maybe
I-
solutions, I thought.
Rules.
Paul Trainer, thank you, Murphy chimed in.
There you go.
Actually,
cool.
you know what would be really good there without the front of car dealership? Drive in, drive out, not front.
There you go.
parking.
Yeah,
Perfect.
And I actually did research car dealerships in the form-based code, and
How'd
they
they
do
do
work in like
They
a
put
giant,
parking lot next
on a
to it.
Yeah,
big city, you
no,
know,
it's
it's last
different, yeah.
essentially.
Hallman's,
What? Where?
Well, I was thinking of the car.
Hallman's
vending
Chevrolet right in
machines.
downtown
Yeah.
Rochester, remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, I think that was one of the pictures. I mean, it can work, it just isn't gonna work on.
we bought our Corvette inside a building.
You never went outside on a lot.
There wasn't, the lot was, it was indoors. It was a building, yeah.
I sat in
That's a
Bugatti in Chicago in the showroom. It was fun. They would- Yeah, everybody spoke German.
And if you go to the Chrysler building in downtown Detroit, that's where their showroom is too.
If you're buying fancy
Alright,
cars, you
we,
shouldn't have to go outside at all.
We're done for this meeting and
No,
everything?
we didn't.
Oh, now I think we can, because I have to go. And-
We closed the meeting.
We- I made a motion.
This is.
Ew, I thought it was something else. All right, well, anyway. I'm here. I'm done with one. I could have left like 5 minutes ago, there is it? Just kidding.
And they all
It was
voted.
valid conversation. All right, so I will see everybody next month.